Hello and welcome back to the Culture Cave. I'm here with Emmett. Say hi to the people, Emmett.
Hi to the people. How are we doing today?
Doing very, very well. We are here to talk about Sisyphus the myth. Still no answer on who's Salamander Man. I think we're getting there. I think we're closer than
I can
ever.
I can feel it in my bones, in
Yeah.
my salamander
In
bones,
your in your flexible salamander bones, you can
Yeah.
feel it.
To be fair,
It's
he
got
did
me
he
there.
did look very flexible in the scenes that he was in, so maybe
Yeah.
he does also have salamander bones.
I tell you now, I know 100%. I don't have a house yet, but I would put my house on finding out who Salamander Man is in this show. I
Yeah.
really think we're going to. Okay, so this episode, there's two to go after this one, so we're getting towards the end now. Things are being put into place. But it maybe isn't the person we thought was putting him into place. Hante Sul apparently has a plan. He had a very interesting episode. So Hante Sul, sort of our main character, we'll start with him. He touched some dust of his skeleton from the future, first of all.
Yeah, which is an interesting sentence to have to say that is
Yeah.
actually totally accurate to what happened in the like if his bodyguard who came back from the future had taken some of his remains and crumpled it up into a dust, and they made contact with it, but even contact with the dust was enough to start giving him visions of the future. They did set that up obviously with Sohei touching her own skeleton and having
Yeah.
that give us a reaction, but it's just very I'm wondering at a granular level, how little of you needs to be there that you can touch it and get
Yeah.
visions from it.
Like a
What's the
skin
cutoff?
cell. Is a skin cell
Yeah,
enough? Like the dust you've left behind?
yeah. It's I'm super curious on what, because it is that sort of ship of Theseus sort of thing where it's how much of that is me, how
Yeah.
much of that is the same person.
Well, yeah,
I
because I think it's like every 3 months, like 99% of our cells in our body have been replaced.
Yeah, so it's either Hante Sul died very recently after that event, or or it just counts as long as it's still you on some front.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
might
yeah.
it might be something to do with temporal energy or something like that. I don't know. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so we're in a situation now with Hante Sul where he saw some of the future, and we don't really know what he knows and what he doesn't. He's kind of like a really mysterious sort of oracle man now.
Yeah, it's kind of like when Matrix in the Matrix when Neo
Mm,
awakens and he has all this knowledge, but we're not necessarily let in on all of it, which is very interesting. But he seems to be now very confident that he knows what he needs to do to
hmm.
sort of throw Sigma's plan into disarray, and we see a bit of
Yeah.
that when he basically when they go down to the bunker and he reveals that he's the one that made the bunker, which I was like, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense. How did he make the bunker though? How was that all made in time? I was a little confused on that front. But
Well,
he
I
then
think he said I think at this stage he's been with Hay for a month or something, 2 months,
yeah,
a week, 3 weeks maybe. I think it's been going for a while at this point, and I think that as soon as he met her, he was like, it's implied anyway. It's a bit silly, but it's implied that he immediately was like, let's build a bunker.
yeah.
Which I'm sure if he hired 1,000 guys, it would be built that quick.
It is kind of like
I
the
don't know.
Batcave in Christopher
Yeah,
Nolan's The
yeah, it
Dark
is
Knight
a little bit
trilogy.
like
It's
that. Yeah.
who made that? How did they do this?
How did they do it so secretly too? Because it's literally on the river. I thought to myself when I first saw it, I was like, because I'm still 100% nothing's changed. I'm still I still feel that way, right? So I'm
Yeah,
thinking to myself, all the changes that were made to the bunker, like the switch has been put in, all the food and medicine that's there that he's put in. Obviously, there was a fair bit of food there already, but I'm thinking to myself, right, it might actually just be, and I suppose Hay would have said it, but I was thinking it might just be that the young Hay and her parents didn't know that switch was there when her mother sacrificed herself.
yeah.
Also, I was
That would
thinking
be
to
real
myself,
awkward. That would be real awkward if they get a little further into the bunker.
yeah, I
Sorry,
also,
I don't mean to laugh, but I just love that idea of I'm sorry, so hey, I'm sorry we had to let your mother,
yeah.
and then turning the corner, it's emergency door close. I'm like, God damn it! Just holding her close, being don't look at that, don't look at that, you don't
Yeah,
need to
yeah,
see
and
that.
don't look at that. Just immediately scratch off the marking. But I think there's a possibility, right? That because it was very very big what Hunty Sul made. Is there a possibility that there's a door which they don't know how to open, and like everything Hunter Sul changed is behind that door? You know what I mean?
That would be good. Also, I think this is just a little moment. I don't know if you noticed it, but did you notice in the background of some of the shots that the further into the bunker was just sort of like painted on the wall?
Oh, was it? I didn't
Yeah, it
notice.
was. It was like I might be wrong, but like it definitely looked like it a few times with me. I was like, that's a good way of like saving space. If you know, if you don't have like a
Well,
filler.
that is a done thing. I think in Tenet they did it as well. They do it in a number of films, and a lot of the time, if you do it really well with a really high budget, it looks really good. But
Yeah.
obviously, you were looking for that, and you saw it, and it just, it just looks like a
Yeah,
painting on a wall.
it just threw me for a second, but I like to imagine that like that's in universe, just painted on there.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Auntie Sue did it for like a laugh, being like, "Yeah, let's see if anyone walks into this wall," you know?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna believe that then. Salamander Man will be revealed, and the wall was painted in universe.
Yeah,
That's the beliefs of us. Okay, so there was a little bit of chat there. Well, we've skipped over a little bit, but in the bunker, Hante Sul was sort of saying to, "Hey, let's stay here." He was sort of, I don't know what he was doing. He was like emotionally baiting her or something, because he was always going to leave.
yeah. Well, I think it was like he was trying to convince her to stay, and then like make it so that she would want to stay, and then he'll be like lock her in. But like he intended to like leave her behind anyway because like he's trying to change the past a bit, you know. So yeah, I think it was basically just like him trying to calm her down a bit, or just maybe Hunter being a bit of a dick again. Which you know,
Yeah,
again, if in doubt, Hunter just might be being a dick again because that's kind of half of his character. And then
could be.
yeah, I also like the fact that like he like elbows his own thing to close the door. It's like, sure,
Yeah,
surely if you're the guy who owns and had this bunker built, you can just lock it and you don't need to break it. You know, like you
yeah.
don't need to like. It's like, oh, you know, like, surely you should be able to like figure that out. But he like leaves Sohei in there and he goes to have his badass walk off to like prepare for his final battle with Sigma. You know.
Yeah, and he talks to Sigma on the phone and he says, everything from here on out I have planned, and so it
Which I
turns
think
out.
he, which I think he said before, by the way. He needs to stop ringing Sigma and telling him that it's like I'm in control of the game now. It's like, so stop bragging for like a second and maybe you'll be able to get a drop on him. Like just stop doing your badass ringing him of like I'm in complete control now. Because then Sigma's gonna like have time to plan and counterplan. If you just don't tell him, you'll get him. You'll trick him. It's gonna be great. You know?
Also, I don't get how no one from any side is realizing that if things aren't going to what the record says, like if things are changing, maybe it's because someone wants them to look like they're changing. Like maybe that's supposed to happen. I don't understand why that's not really coming into anyone's mind.
Yeah, like is Sigma lying to them about what's supposed to happen to lure them into it? Or I genuinely think because like Sigma seemed kind of interested when he learned that little tidbit because like the little hint that we mentioned before that maybe the timeline's changing was the head of the control bureau coming in and telling Sigma that
Yeah.
Sohei was not in the car with Hante Sul like
Mm-hmm.
she was supposed to be, like they were told it was, and like he did like seem like in the sort of like because Sigma seems to like sort of enjoy this cat and mouse game. So I
Mm-hmm.
think to a certain extent he kind of likes it when things change
Oh yeah.
because he likes playing off it. You know, like you said you read that as like you think he's manipulating people and letting them think that things are changing. I kind of think that he is aware of things are changing, but he's not. I think maybe like Sigma's worked it out some way where like he keeps on like absorbing himself and like retains all these
Mm-hmm.
memories of these changed timelines. So like
Possibly.
he's done this a load of times and like he enjoys when there's little variations because then it's like, oh, I can plan this out and I can change this around because we see him bring Jason in to be like to try and like overturn what Hante Sul's doing.
Yeah.
And like I kind of like I think that's where he gets at least some of his enjoyment out of this whole situation, being like, oh, that isn't how that happened before. This is cool. I'll beat you at this as well.
Yeah, I,
Like
I could definitely see that. I think that'd be pretty cool. Like I'm not gonna care too much if they don't hold to 100% like bootstrap paradoxy rules because the way that they've done time travel is so different to other shows that
yeah,
I've seen. So I'm not really going to be disappointed if they don't do the whole loop thing. Having said that, like it would be pretty cool if they did it. But
yeah,
again, having said that as well, the idea of Sigma sort of actually continuing on in this loop and like sort of merging with a different version of himself. That does seem pretty cool because they have shown us merging, like the two things merging before. So like the necklace or whatever it was. Like, so things can merge. 100%. I did predict back whenever we saw that episode that two people are going to merge. There has to be two people joining together for me because they showed it's sort of like Chekhov's merging necklace,
Yeah, it's like there's so much setup for it. Like you have to have that merger, and it would make sense if we like confirmed that Sigma had been doing this for a long time. See, like he seems to have like a lot of knowledge that's even intense for someone who's just come back from the future and has a lot of foresight. It feels like he's done this a lot, and like he's very confident with it. So like I would be like willing, like it could be like he's worked out essentially a form of immortality by just like sort of like body jacking his like younger self, and then like just continuing that loop over and over and over again, But like I think they're setting it. I'm gonna maybe take a bit of a swing of a prediction on the ending of the show, and see how that goes. I think they're setting it up for this timeline's going to feel like this version of it is going to feel, and we're going to start again at the beginning of the timeline, but with the like implication that this could be the one that changes everything, like that there's just enough in this timeline or in the timeline that we're watching, they've helped to set up enough variation that the next timeline will like totally take things off the rails, and like Sigma won't do anything. I don't know if we'll get to see that whole timeline or if it will just be like maybe an implication that things are going to change in the next timeline. Like again, I'm gonna call my shot there. We'll see if I'm right on that one. Those of you who already have watched the rest of the show in the comments, please don't spoil. No spoiler.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really cool prediction. I just can't get out of my mind that Salamander Man is going to be like the Hail Mary attempt to fix everything, and it causes everything. I cannot get that out of my mind.
Of course, he's going to be. He's one of our key three characters, or sorry, key four characters. Obviously, the most important characters: Hante Sul, Sohei, Sigma, and Salamander Man. Like they're all playing games against each other. Whose side is Salamander Man on? We can't be certain,
Listen, I swear to Salamander Man, right? If Salamander Man is not revealed who it is, or it's not shown, even if it's no one, but they show them deciding to go and do that, if they don't actually show that, I'm gonna be like, what's going on here? You can't have a show where you're bringing people back from the future and then you've got someone whose face is distorted and then you do nothing with it,
Yeah, I'm just gonna say it. What if it turns out that Salamander Man? What if this is like a stealth crossover between Sisyphus and Dark, and it turns out that Salamander Man is actually the son of Adam from Dark, and that's the big revelation. Like it's a secret crossover between a Korean drama and a German drama, and like we never saw it coming from the start.
I mean, that would be fantastic, and it would also be like nothing's a coincidence because I'm also covering both shows on this channel. Like that would be nuts, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and then this is the next episode. You have a letter from your future self being like, "Good, everything is going according to plan."
Yeah. I've had a letter from my future self before, actually, in an episode of Dark Discussions way back when. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It has happened. No, I'm waiting for another one. Another one hasn't come yet though. I think I'll get my Hogwarts invitation before that. Okay, last thing I want to talk about, and that is the whole Park and Bing Bing situation.
Good old Bing Bing.
Do you think that Park hired Bing Bing because he knew that she was the one who threatened him?
Well, that's a good question.
Or is that just a quinky dink?
It was probably one of those situations that he probably, because like he could only, he only seen her for a very brief moment, and he was probably more focused on the gun than it was on her. Yeah. So it was probably one of those moments where like he in the driver's seat realized that she was the person then and there, rather than like specifically hiring her for it. Mm-hmm. I feel like he sort of just like finds people that like he can kind of get working underneath him, and it just sort of worked out that way. Or maybe in previous timelines, if things are changing, maybe that never happened before, and like that was a new occasion for him. Maybe he doesn't remember that happening, Mm-hmm. So it's a possibility.
Yeah, it's really interesting though. I really liked that little thing where he, had that run in with his former self, and even like it's implied as well that he's now gonna go and be like, this is the interesting part. it's implied that he's going to go and, I assumed, was going to get killed by his former self, and then his former self gets put in prison. But I think in a way as well, it was also implied that potentially that he wants to go and kill his former self, and then he takes his place in the prison.
Yeah, it might be a situation of like he wants to get his younger self away from his partner, because obviously he's very abusive, and like he in the meantime has had time to reflect and realize that he was a monster, and like it's now one way or the other. If he killed his younger self, or if his younger self killed him and then went to prison for it, it would still have the same effect of protecting the family that he realized that he had mistreated. So I imagine it is a bit of like it is a sort of weird situation, because like I suppose no matter what way that goes, you could call that suicide. Because like if you kill your younger self, it's still killing himself. Time travel makes figuring out what a crime is kind of difficult. You know,
it does. Well, I think if you were like actively killing yourself, who's a separate person to yourself, yes, it probably is suicide. We could have that conversation, but it's definitely homicide anyway.
Yeah, there's been a murder, and it's been of yourself, and that's very tricky. You know, it's a very tricky.
So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Park. Something's going to happen, because apparently today is the day he was meant to die. So we'll see what happens with him. If things are changing, maybe he won't die today. But we'll see. Thanks very much for joining us, guys. Emmett, any final thoughts?
Remember, if you want to give to the Church of Salamander Man, we are still taking donations. We're starting to get the altar all assembled into his glorious image. But
we've put some calls into the agent of Sister Agnes. She's not getting back to us.
Yeah, she's being quite pernickety about it. But like we'll get this sorted, and don't you worry, we'll start having sermons about Salamander Man soon.
The collection plate will be coming around. Right, guys, thanks very much. Subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. Give the video a like if you liked it. If you didn't, give it a dislike. All about that engagement. Thanks very much, guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.